In the spring of this year, Philadelphia Yearly Meeting approved a minute that recognized the existential threat that climate change poses to all of us who share this world, and acknowledged that friends wished all of us in our yearly meeting to intensify our efforts to address climate change in an active way. The Quaker Life Council stood up a sprint to guide our community into doing this work together. Their report, titled Moving Together in the Face of Climate Change, states, as a people of faith, seekers of the truth and stewards of creation, we must act with urgency to prevent further suffering and destruction of our planet. We seek to energize everyone involved with PYM to actively undertake this leading and help halt the destruction of life on this sacred earth. This presentation shows the broad strokes of the Sprint's report. Some highlights of the report's innovations include a climate action network, which includes friends from every meeting to provide widespread connection about resources for understanding and acting, as well as instant alerts as to needs for advocacy and action to speak truth to power. Expecting the yearly meeting to speak directly in that same vein, monthly meetings are asked to consider establishing committees or contact persons to lead action. Monthly and quarterly meetings are asked to work together, where they share congressional or legislative representatives in order to amplify the effect of our witness. The recommendation of this report is that we focus on each of 5 specific areas. They are activism, education, carbon footprint reduction, finances, mourning loss, and instilling hope. The report details how these actions can be taken up by individuals and households, monthly and quarterly meetings, the yearly meeting as a whole. A playbook is included for each of these in Appendix 6, 7, and 8. Let's look a little more closely at the 5 action areas. Activism. In the tradition of friends throughout history, we are called to both let our lives be an example and to actively speak truth to power. We will put our beliefs into action through advocacy, direct action, and public witness to make change in government and corporations. We can engage in activism independently, together with other meetings, and friends with other organizations like FCNL, Power, and Equate. Details are in Appendices 2A, 3, 5, and the playbooks. Education. We must educate ourselves so that we comprehend the factors that contribute to this urgent crisis and the ways that it involves so many aspects of our lives so that our activism is effective. We will develop extensive materials towards that and to be shared through study, electronic means, and traveling ministry. See Appendices 2B, 3, and the playbooks. Carbon footprint reduction. We will take steps to reduce our impact on the earth. This is not the primary action step because on its own, it won't stop climate change. See Appendices 2C, 3, and the playbooks. Finances. Our collective purchasing and investing choices will be made in a way that addresses climate change. See Appendices 2D, 3, and the playbooks. Finally, mourning loss and instilling hope. We recognize that bold work to address this crisis requires spiritual grounding and the support of a community. See Appendices 2E and the playbooks. In all of our action, it is vital that we bear witness to truth that the effects of climate change fall more heavily on those communities with the least access to resources. We must continually bear this in mind in our work on these issues. Let's look a little more closely at who is responsible for doing the work of these 5 action areas. The entire yearly meeting is under the weight of this urgent concern. This means that each of us is asked by our religious community to carry it into the yearly meeting, quarterly meetings, monthly meetings, and our individual lives. This also means that we do not have to process our fear, grief, and exhaustion alone. We are called to support, teach, and encourage each other. Individual friends in our households are key actors. Every friend is asked to consider where they can take action in influencing systemic change, in learning more, in reducing their carbon footprint, in making choices about their finances and in recognizing loss and reaching for hope. Monthly and quarterly meetings are encouraged to find how they are called to take steps in each of the action areas and to support the friends in the meeting as they take their own steps. Meetings are encouraged to work together with other meetings in their local communities to increase their voice and support. The yearly meeting is the interdependent network of all of the friends and meetings in our region and will take action on each of the 5 areas in all that we do, in our gatherings and governance, in our finances and operations. Friends and meetings have been engaged in the work of addressing climate change, some for many years. Our recognition of the critical need to address climate change is not new. What is new is our recognition that we are called to address it in a pervasive manner throughout all that we do with all of our community. To do this work and to do it together, we need support. There are 2 primary areas of support. A range of resources that are available to friends, meetings, and the PYM community. A multi-level approach to holding ourselves accountable. We'll look at resources first. Our community has resources that are already available and that we can build. This information is in the Resources, Leadership, and Accountability appendix of the report. The Eco-Justice Collaborative. Through years of service carrying this witness for PYM, the Eco-Justice Collaborative, EJC, and its members have shared their deep understanding of the issues. Its members have tools, knowledge, wisdom, programs, resources, and events which are in place to support PYM to take further steps in this witness. PYM Climate Action Network. PYM and its Eco-Justice Collaborative will build and maintain a climate action network of friends who agree to work together on climate and justice issues and to be a conduit of information to their meetings. The network will exist also as a database that includes information on legislative districts so that EJC can notify friends when to contact federal, state, and local representatives, especially when the need for advocacy is urgent. This is a concept that is already in process of being built. Resource Friends, a group of experienced friends who can speak to the important topics for climate change education will be identified, supported, and managed along with other PYM resources. They can be available to meetings and PYM groups. 2 climate change resource friends are already in place. PYM staff provides expertise, support, and continuity of relationship as foundational support for our community's work. Their steady and consistent service focuses on providing and building capacity for community engagement through a skilled and wide variety of communications, connection building, program, and events. Relationships with other organizations. Many Quaker, faith-based, and secular organizations are formed specifically to engage in this ministry. While PYM has a unique voice in the world, we do not need to base all that we say only on our own experience and expertise. When we join with others, we are able to strengthen all of our capacity and to amplify the essential messages. Partnerships also are a key ingredient in managing the experience of mourning and loss, as well as finding our resiliency. Communications within PYM. Our communications channels connect friends and meetings with information, resources, and tools to support their work. They also provide friends and meetings with information about the witness and related activity within the PYM community. All friends can contribute to the content that is shared through communications. Resource Library, a curated online library of resources to support the work. All friends can make suggestions for library content. Friendly Households Project. This program, developed by the Eco-Justice Collaborative, helps meetings and individuals focus on how to green our homes and meetings. Playbooks. Playbooks are a set of documents which provide a focused review of resources, accountability, information, and steps for each of the 3 actors, individuals, meetings, and PYM. These resources support the work of all of us. That's all of us. There are several structures that will help keep us focused and effective in our ministry on addressing climate change. More detail about these structures is provided in an appendix of the report. Climate Witness Stewards. The yearly meeting will appoint these stewards who will recommend benchmarks, report to the PYM body on our activity, and will provide a level of approval to climate-related activity. Monthly and quarterly meeting leadership. Meetings are asked to consider establishing committees or contact persons to lead action. Benchmarks. We will approve benchmarks for our work that will help us be strategic and forward-moving. Queries can direct us to pay attention. The following query will be included as part of the yearly meeting decision-making process. How does this decision support us in our goal to reduce climate change and counter the worst adverse impacts of climate change? Reports from individuals, meetings, and relevant yearly meeting groups will be submitted to the Climate Witness stewards, who will summarize them and share them back to us. Story sharing. Opportunities to share experiences will be provided on a regular basis so that friends, meetings, and groups will support, inspire, and compel one another by sharing their stories of success, frustration, and dreaming. Further details about all of these topics are in the appendices of the Sprints report. The appendices include spiritual and moral basis for action, an outline for necessary actions, resources, leadership, and accountability, a history of response to climate change by PYM, a sample action matrix, individual and household climate change, playbook, monthly and quarterly meeting climate change, playbook, yearly meeting climate change playbook, and you guessed it, Project Drawdown, a resource for possible activism focus areas. The Sprint was appointed by Quaker Life Council, and their members include Bill Cousins, Ruth Darlington, Christy Duncan Tesmer, Pat Finley, Robert Green, Catherine Metzger, Christy Tavernelli, and Shelley Gia.